Here's how to do the alley-oop in NBA Infinite, and I practiced for over 3 hours with my viewers in a custom room. If you don't know, the alley-oop is a two-person play where one person passes the ball towards the hoop and the ball is caught by someone else in the air who dunks the ball in the hoop before landing. And I'll explain the alley-oop in 3 phases, and also the 2 players that you'll need to execute this successfully. We'll call these 2 players the guard and the dunker in this video. The 3 phases for a successful alley-oop: 1. The dunker needs to call for the alley-oop pass without the ball. 2. The guard with the ball needs to press the alley-oop button when it pops up. And 3. The dunker needs to time the meter when it hits the middle and either tap, spam tap, or hold the alley-oop button right when the meter is right at the middle. All this needs to happen with no defender between the guard and the dunker, and also the dunker and the basket. Hopefully. It's very challenging and sometimes frustrating because there's a lot of moving parts to this play. And I'll do my best to explain these 3 parts in detail, so eventually you can do it too. So spam that like button like it's the crossover button and let's get started. So the best way to practice the alley-oop is by joining a practice room with a teammate and fill it up with bots. If you need a teammate, feel free to join our Discord, link in the description, and be best if both of you use mics to better coordinate and time the alley-oop. If you somehow have a third teammate, have them play the center on the opposite team, and have them stand at the corner of a 3-point line so the dunker and guard can have an open key in the middle to do alley-oops. And before you start the room, make sure you know where the alley-oop button is by checking your settings and going into custom UI. And remember where it is, especially if you're a guard, because the alley-oop pass button does not show up until the dunker calls for the alley-oop pass. And by the time the button shows up for the guard to alley-oop, it might just disappear when it comes time to press it, because the window of opportunity to alley-oop is so small that you might as well just spam that area just in case that button pops up. Just remember where the alley-oop pass button is. It only appears for a split second. Also, another note is player selection. Even though you can be any guard to pass the ball to a dunker for the alley-oop, it is preferred to be a guard with the air courier player skill, since this increases the chances for successful alley-oop pass by up to 25%. Players like Morant, Harden, LeBron James, Doncic would be best. Some players have higher air courier player skills than others, so make sure you have one of the players with a higher air courier level. LaMelo actually has an exclusive skill called expedited service, which increases a successful alley-oop pass rate to as high as 20% on top of his air courier skill. And now for the player selection for the dunker, that person needs to have the alley-oop active skill so that they can trigger the alley-oop button for his teammates. Most of the big players have it ready to be unlocked, but just make sure you have it leveled up in your skills page. And here's the list of all the players with the alley-oop skill, because the alley-oop move is not possible unless one of the dunkers have it. Also for the dunker, there's also another skill called airborne. It is not necessary to have. This skill increases the dunk rate success by up to an additional 20 to 30% depending on your airborne skill level. Players like Capella, Siakam, Davis, and Giannis, to name a few, and some players can level it more than others. Here's a list of players with the airborne skill, but the most important thing is to have the dunker with the alley-oop skill so you and your guard can actually start the alley-oop. So now with all that in mind, let's enter a room with your teammates. So this is now phase 1, the setup. The best way for me and my teammate to practice alley-oops is to do a high pick and roll so that we both roll to the basket together. This means that the guard has the ball and the dunker sets the screen for him, usually at the 3-point line or farther back. You can do this closer, but for practice, it's better to start with more running room. If the screen does not connect, you can still achieve the alley-oop dunk, but because there was no screen, most likely there will be a defender on both of you still, and that'll decrease the chances of executing the alley-oop. But if the screen does connect, you both run towards the basket. And now we enter phase 2 of the alley-oop. At this point, you both are running towards the basket, and the dunker needs to tap on the alley-oop button, which is also called the call to pass button. A speech bubble above the dunker's head as he's running towards the hoop should say time for an alley-oop. And when that's shown, the guard will see a button pop up to start the alley-oop pass as you guys get closer to the basket. It's best to run on opposite sides of the key because there's most likely just one defender because the original opponent defending your guard was knocked down at the back of the 3. And this is where positioning and timing is very important, because the goal is to have no opponents between the passer and dunker, and also no opponents between the dunker and the basket. There's alley-oop pass success rate and alley-oop dunk rate to keep in mind during all this. So remember when there's an opponent next to you, and those affect the alley-oop. So now after the guard presses the alley-oop pass button, we enter phase 3. Right when the guard presses the alley-oop pass button, a meter comes up above the dunker. It's very fast, so the dunker's eyes needs to be looking above his head to see that blue meter. All the dunker needs to do now is make sure that there's no one in front of him between him and the bucket, and just time that meter to hit right in the middle. I've had successful alley-oop dunks when I tap it once and it stops right there in the middle. I've had successful dunks when I started spam tapping as soon as it hit the middle, and I've had successful dunks when I press and held the button right at the middle. You can try different ways. I seem to like the spamming one for whatever reason. It just feels more guaranteed. I don't know why. But the important thing is make sure the timing is right, because your character can jump too early or too late, and that can result in a lost ball, or it just ends up being a pass. And remember, the goal throughout these phases is to make sure that there's no opponents in the passing lane and no opponents between the dunker and the basket. Once these are cleared, the chances of dunking goes extremely high. But not every game is perfect like that, so just use it every now and then. And if the opportunity comes up, go for it. So it's as simple as that, but still very difficult to master because it relies on timing and positioning so much. Sometimes you won't even get a chance to do one successful alley-oop dunk in one game, but it is rewarding if done correctly. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. And if you made it this far and you're looking for NBA Infinite teammates, feel free to join our Discord, link in the description. And most of us are in NA servers and speak English with mics. We're soon planning our first NBA Infinite tournament for fun, so stay updated by seeing the events section in our Discord or Twitter or YouTube community posts. We have more NBA Infinite tips just like this, so hit the like button and subscribe for future NBA Infinite videos. And you can see my next NBA Infinite video right here.
Oh, that one was nice as well.
Yeah, okay. So I held it down.